on the assignment and you click this link, it should take you right to it. And this section talks about cells, which has a lot of vocabulary in it. So let's start out. Chapter 2, Cells. The world around you is filled with organisms that you could overlook or even be unable to see. Some of these organisms are one-celled, some are multi-celled. The monster in this photograph is a louse crawling across human skin. It can be seen in great detail with a microscope that can be found in many classrooms. You can study cells, small organisms, with other kinds of microscopes. And skip the journal part. And the explore activity, maybe we'll get to that. And we're not going to do any of the foldable stuff. Let's get right to the reading. What you learn. Identify the names and function of each cell part. Explain how important a nucleus is in a cell. Tissues, organs, and organ systems. Vocabulary is extensive. Take it one piece at a time. Why it's important. If you know how organelles function, it's easy to understand how cells survive. Common cell traits. Living cells are dynamic and have several things in common. A cell is the smallest unit that is capable of performing life functions. All cells have an outer covering called the cell membrane. Inside every cell is a gelatin-like material called cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm of every cell is hereditary material that controls the life of the cell. Comparing cells. Cells come in many sizes. A nerve cell in your leg could be a meter long. A human egg cell is no bigger than a dot on this eye. A human red blood cell is about 1/10 the size of a human egg cell. A bacterium is even smaller. 8,000ths of the smallest bacteria can fit inside one of your red blood cells. A cell's shape may tell you something about its function. The nerve cell in figure 1, down here, figure 1, this long thing is a nerve cell, has many fine extensions that send and receive impulses from other cells. Though a nerve cell cannot change shape, muscle cells and sometimes blood cells can. In plant stems, some cells are long and hollow and have openings at their end. These cells carry food and water throughout the plant. Cell types. Now, this was on the blog this morning. Cell types. Scientists have found that cells can be separated into two groups. One group has no membrane-bound structures inside the cell, and the other group does, as shown in figure 2. Cells without membrane-bound structures are called prokaryotic cells. Cells with membrane-bound structures are called eukaryotic cells. Two groups, eukaryotic and prokaryotic. And this figure up here with the flagellum, hereditary material, that's the prokaryotic, and here with all the organelles, including the nucleus, ribosomes, nerve organelles, endoplasmic reticulum and such, that would be your eukaryotic cell. Cell organization. Each cell in your body has a specific function. You might compare a cell to a busy delicatessen that's open 24 hours every day. A delicatessen is usually where you buy sandwiches and such. Raw materials for the sandwiches are brought in often. Some food is eaten in the store, and some customers take their food with them. Sometimes food is prepared ahead of time for quick sale. Waste are put into trash bags and removed for recycling. Similarly, your cells are taking in nutrients, secreting and storing chemicals, and breaking down substances 24 hours a day. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it right now. And now, cell wall. Just like a deli that's located inside the walls of a building, some cells are enclosed in cell wall. The cells of plant, algae, fungi, and most bacteria are enclosed in a cell wall. Cell walls are tough, rigid outer coverings that protect the cell and give it shape. A plant cell wall, as shown in figure 3, mostly is made up of carbohydrates called cellulose. The long thread-like fibers of the cellulose form a thick mesh that allows water and dissolves materials to pass through it. Cell walls can also contain pectin, which is used in jam and jelly, and lignin, which is a compound that makes a cell wall rigid. Plant cells responsible for support have a lot of lignin in their walls. Cell membrane. The protective layer around all cells is the cell membrane, as shown in Figure 4. If cells have cell walls, the cell membrane is inside of it. The cell membrane regulates the interactions between the cell and the environment. Water is able to move freely into and out of the cell through the cell membrane. Food particles and some molecules enter the waste products leave through the cell membrane. Cytoplasm. Cells are filled with gelatin-like substance called cytoplasm that constantly flows inside the cell membrane. Many important chemical reactions occur within the cytoplasm. Throughout the cytoplasm is a framework called the cytoskeleton, which helps the cell maintain a change its shape. Cytoskeletons enable some cells to move. An amoeba, for example, moves by stretching and contracting its cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton is made up of thin, hollow tubes of protein and thin, solid protein fibers, as shown in Figure 5. Right over here, this thing looks like a leaf, a fall leaf. That's the cytoskeleton. Proteins are organic molecules that are made up of amino acids. What is the function of the cytoskeleton? To help support the cell, enable it to move. Most of the cell's life processes occurs in the cytoplasm. Within the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cells are structures called organelles. Some organelles process energy and others manufacture substances needed by the cell or other cells. Certain organelles move materials while others act as storage sites. Most organelles are surrounded by membranes. The nucleus is usually the largest organelle in a cell. Nucleus. Nucleus is like the deli manager who directs the store's daily operation and passes on the information to employees. The nucleus, shown in Figure 6, directs all the cell activities and is separated from the cytoplasm by a membrane. Materials enter and leave the nucleus through openings in the cell membrane. The nucleus contains the instructions for everything the cell does. These instructions are found on long, thread-like hereditary material of DNA. DNA is the chemical that contains the code for cell structure and activities. During cell division, the hereditary material coils tightly around proteins to form structures called chromosomes. A structure called the nucleolus is also found in the nucleus. Here's Figure 1 and Figure 2. Energy processing organelles. Cells require a continuous supply of energy to process food, make new substances and eliminate waste, and communicate with each other. In plant cells, food is made in green organelles in the cytoplasm called the chloroplast, as shown in Figure 7. Right over here, Figure 7 magnified 37,000 times. Chlorophyll contains green pigment. Chloroplasts contain green filament called chlorophyll, which gives leaves and stems their green color. Chlorophyll captures light and energy that is used to make sugar and called glucose. Glucose molecules store and capture light energy as chemical energy. Many cells, including animal cells, do not have chloroplasts for making food. They must get food from their environment. The energy in food that is stored until released by the mitochondria, singular mitochondrion, such as the one shown in Figure 8, are organelles where energy is released from breaking down food into carbon dioxide, water. Just as gas or electric companies supply food for the deli, the mitochondria releases energy for use by the cell. Some types of cells, such as muscle cells, are more active than other cells. These cells have larger numbers of mitochondria. Why would active cells have more or larger mitochondria? Manufacturing organelles. One substance that is part of in nearly every cell activity is protein. Proteins are part of cell membranes. Other proteins are needed for chemical reactions that take place in the cytoplasm. Cells make their own proteins on small structures called ribosomes. Even though ribosomes are considered organelles, they are not membrane bound. Some ribosomes float freely in the cytoplasm, and others are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Ribosomes are made in the nucleolus and move out into the cytoplasm. Ribosomes receive directions from hereditary material in the nucleus on how and when and what order makes it specific. And figure 9 shows endoplasmic reticulum, which is the processing, transporting, and storing of organelles. The endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, as shown in figure 9, which is up here, extends from the nucleus to the cell membrane. It is a series of folded membranes in which materials can process and move around inside the cell. The ER takes up a lot of space in some cells. The endoplasmic reticulum may be rough or smooth. ER that has no attached ribosomes is called smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This type of ER processes other cellular substances such as lipids that store energy. Ribosomes are attached to areas on the rough ER. There they carry out the job of making proteins and moved out of cells and used within cells. What is the difference between ER and smooth and rough? That's your reading check. After proteins are made in the cells, they are transferred to another type of organelles called the Golgi bodies. The Golgi bodies, as shown in figure 10, are stacked, flattened membranes. The Golgi bodies sort proteins and other cellular substances into packages and package them into membrane-bound structures called vesicles. The vesicles deliver cellular substances to areas inside the cell. They also carry cellular substances to the cell membrane, where they are released to the outside of the cell. Just as a deli has a refrigerator for temporary storage of some foods and its ingredients, cells have membrane-bound spaces called vacuoles for the temporary storage of materials. A vacuole can store water, waste products, food, and other similar materials. In plant cells, the vacuoles may take up most of the cell's volume. Recycling organelles. Active cells break down into recycled substances. Organelles called lysosomes contain digestive chemicals that can break down food molecules, cell waste, and worn-out cell parts. In a healthy cell, chemicals are released into vacuoles when needed. The lysosome membrane prevents the digestive chemicals inside from leaking into the cytoplasm and destroying the cell. When cell dies, a lysosome membrane disintegrates. This releases digestive chemicals and allows a quick breakdown of the cell's contents. There's some math skills there. And on to page 47, last page, in the section assessment questions 1 through 5, which you're asked to do. From cells to organism. Many one-celled organisms form all their life functions by themselves. Cells in many celled organisms, however, do not work alone. Each cell carries on its own life function while depending on some ways other cells in the organism. In figure 11, you can see cardiac muscle cells grouped together to form a tissue. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to do one job. Each cell in a tissue does its part to keep the tissue alive. Tissues are organized into organs. An organ is a structure made up of 2 or more different types of tissue that work together. Your heart has an organ made up of cardiac muscle tissue, nerve tissue, and blood tissue. The cardiac muscle tissue contracts, making the heart pump, boom, 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 boom. And the nerve tissue brings messages to tell the heart to beat faster, boom, 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 boom. The blood tissue carries from the heart to other organs of the body. What types of tissues make up your heart? Well, that question's easy. Cardiac, nerve, and blood tissue. A group of organs working together to perform a certain function is an organ system. Your heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries make up your cardiovascular system. In many celled organisms, several systems work together in order to perform life functions efficiently. Your nervous system, circulatory, respiratory, muscular, and other systems work together to keep you alive. And we're going to answer questions 1 through 5. Explain the important role of nucleus in the life of the cell. Here's a hint on that. Thinking about what is the directing the cell. Compare and contrast the energy processing organelles. Compare and contrast the energy processing organelles. We'll go over that in class. And the digestive system, enclosed membrane, we'll go over that in class. How are cells, tissues, organ systems related? Well, that's just going right up the line from smallest to biggest. And critically thinking, how is a cell of a one-celled organism excuse me, one-cell organism different from the cells in many-cell organisms? And there you go. That is Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Section 1, all about cell structure. And these are vocabulary words we went over. Feel free to replay this over and over again until you get it down. This is Mr. Ruby, and see you on YouTube.